I got into psychedelics as a journalist. I wrote that article not thinking I would ever try psilocybin, but I decided I now had to. I was working with a guide somewhere on the East Coast, a wonderful guide, and I felt very safe, and that is critically important if you're willing to have your ego dissolve. I see myself burst into just this cloud of little Post-it notes. I'd been blasted to bits. And then I looked out, and I had been liquefied, just kind of coating the landscape. But I was fine with it. This other I had emerged, was like, that's what happens, you turn into paint. And it was the most amazing thing. I didn't have a self, but this other perspective had arisen that had this perfect equanimity. Whatever happened is fine. It wasn't exactly me, and I don't know what it was. Aldous Huxley would say it was the mind at large. It was some kind of universal consciousness. And when that happens, when your self falls apart, if you feel safe without the walls of the ego and the self, these channels open up. What rushes in is your sense of connection. And you feel these channels of love opening up and this sense of fellow feeling with natural things. Without a guide, I had a fairly high dose experience in my garden, and I had a very strong sense that consciousness was spread more equally over the natural world than I had ever thought before. And that as I was gazing at these leaves were gazing back at me. Everything was much more alive than it had ever been. Here we have a tool that, at least for the individual, breaks down these ego formations, allows us to have a deep connection with the natural world and focus on our likeness rather than our unlikeness with other people.